mass communication major here at Brenau, specializing in broadcast media. And after graduating in 1998, she found her way to Atlanta to a little independent broadcasting outlet called CNN. During her decade with that Atlanta-based news network, the award-winning journalist has been involved in a number of international stories, primarily focusing on Middle Eastern issues. She was recently promoted to director and executive editorial producer for network booking at CNN. She's currently writing a book about American Muslim women of her generation. Please welcome Maria Ibrahimji. For you who don't understand that, we'll explain that later, the recognition. Khalid Hosseini was born in Kabul in 1965. His father was a career diplomat with the Afghan Foreign Ministry, and his mother was his school teacher. The family was about to return to Afghanistan from a 4-year posting in Paris in 1980, but the bloody communist coup and subsequent invasion by Soviet forces prevented that. The Hosseinis sought political asylum in the United States and settled in California. Young Khalid earned a bachelor's degree in biology from Santa Clara University and went on to earn a medical degree from the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine. In 1996, after completing a residency in internal medicine at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, he began the practice of medicine. However, Khalid Hosseini inherited from a long line of storytellers the ancient gift of storytelling. His personal experience, coupled with the experiences of many of his countrymen and women, were stories crying to be told to the world. In 2001, he started his first novel, which was to be published in 2003. Since then, The Kite Runner has not only become an international bestseller, it has been published in 48 countries and has sold an impressive 8 million copies. His second novel, A Thousand Splendid Suns, was published in May of 2007 and has been on the New York Times bestseller list ever since. But alas, it's only been published in 25 countries. It's still growing. For Americans and others around the world, Khalid Hosseini has been writing about people who had no faces. But Khalid Hosseini's writing has helped put human faces on people about which we knew little prior to 9/11. He has helped to illuminate a region of the world that we often do not understand and about which we know little. But these two books have been nothing less than inspirational and extremely informative for all of us. In 2006, Dr. Hosseini was named a Goodwill Envoy to the United Nations Relief Agency. We're extremely pleased to have Dr. Hosseini here tonight. He's a very generous and real individual, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Please help me in welcoming to Brenau, Dr. Hosseini.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to my alma mater.
That's a pleasure. My first time in Gainesville.
Yeah, there is a lot to learn about this small community. There's a chicken processing plant just down the road, so when we leave tonight, if you smell something in the air, just remember I smelled it for 4 years.
I have a phobia of chickens, actually. I would not do well here.
Probably not. Well, welcome to the place that I love dearly. This is where I grew up and became a woman and went out into the brave, wonderful world. And I'm thrilled to have you. I'm honored to be on stage with you tonight.
Thank you.
Khalid, I guess I want to start from your beginning. It's a really good place to start. You came to America when you were a refugee. You were 15 years old, from what I understand. Tell us a little bit about how you got here and what America was like for your 15-year-old self.
Well, I was 15. I was the oldest of 5, and we were living in France when the Soviets invaded. My father was working at the embassy. And very quickly, it became evident that going back to Afghanistan was going to be a bad decision. My father's colleague at the embassy actually did go back, and within a week of his arrival in Kabul, we heard that he'd been executed. And that was happening routinely. And so we moved to the States. My father applied for political asylum, and we came to the States. And coming to the States was those first 2 or 3 years were surreal. For me as a 15-year-old, because 15 is a funny age anyway, regardless of where you're growing up, but you're struggling with self-identity, you want to be cool, you want to be accepted, you want to have friends, and then you're suddenly plucked and then put into this environment where you don't speak the language at all, you don't understand the culture.
And you went to California, which is a really weird place.
Yeah, right? And high school was like, the Dante's Inferno. So I spent the first year learning English and hanging out with a lot of other refugees, Cambodians, Vietnamese. I didn't understand a word they were saying at lunchtime, but I would just sit with them because I felt a kinship with them being uprooted like we were. And meanwhile, my folks, I think, were adjusting to their new identity of having left everything behind in Afghanistan and coming to the States. And I have I guess when I think back about those early years, I have 2 central images of our arrival in the States. One is that my dad, when we first moved, we moved into a house in East San Jose. My dad decided we need a car, and he said we need an American car. My father was a child of the Cold War. The Cold War formed his politics, and his view of the world is that the West stands for good and opportunity and freedom, and anything left of center